Good afternoon or good morning, and a warm welcome to this British Council-led side panel event, part of the Asia Pacific Regional Education Ministers Conference happening this week in Bangkok, Thailand, where I'm based. The title of our event is Ensuring Online Professional Development for Teachers is Scalable, Sustainable, and Truly Inclusive. Lessons learned from case studies across the Asia Pacific. My name is Alison Barrett. I'm the Regional Director for the British Council's programmes in English, Education and the Arts across East Asia. Having worked since 1995 as an English teacher in Korea, in Japan, Nepal, India, Pakistan, and later as a teacher trainer and a manager in South and East Asia, I'm particularly delighted to be moderating this panel here today, and I'm really interested in hearing about all of the different case studies. Before we get into the detail of the session, let me go through the housekeeping rules and say a little bit about how the session is structured. This session is live on Zoom and on the British Council in Indonesia YouTube channel. We're recording the session and it will be available for everyone to watch afterwards. Webinar attendees are free to comment in the chat box at any time. Please address comments and select all panelists and attendees so we can all see your questions, and we will come back to those at the end of the session. The whole session is 90 minutes long, but we will make sure there's around 30 minutes for questions at the end. So do put your questions in the box or start scribbling them down so that you don't forget them later. So why are we here today? Well, there are 800 million children across Asia, 400 million in South Asia, and 140 million in Southeast Asia, and many more in the rest of East Asia, many of whom have had their education severely disrupted as a result of the pandemic. And as teachers, for all of us, the learning of our children is of the utmost importance. We know from studies such as the excellent Southeast Asia Primary Learning Metric Study that children generally from higher socioeconomic backgrounds tend to perform better in literacy and numeracy. As a result of the pandemic, accessing learning has mainly been through digital or online or remote channels, and that can potentially exacerbate that divide. Inadequate technological infrastructure, students with inadequate skills for remote learning, multiple demands on underprepared teachers, and varying levels of support from home are all reasons cited by UNICEF's recent report as barriers to effective online and remote learning. It's clear that the importance of digital literacy, as well as content learning, effective support mechanisms, and inclusive approaches and principles for access, but also for pedagogy, are fundamentally important. But it's not all doom and gloom, as we hear today. From this pandemic, we've been afforded many opportunities. The British Council works with partners from the UK and from the region to design and deliver interventions which meet the immediate needs of English teachers and learners on the ground. In this event, together with education partners from across Asia Pacific and the UK, we will outline principles for ensuring remote professional development for teachers is scalable, sustainable, and truly inclusive. We'll draw on British Council research, as well as live project case studies from across the region. We're focusing today on countries of Indonesia, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, and Vietnam. We'll highlight lessons learned from large-scale teacher development programs, and we'll answer the key questions of what works best and why. So in the first hour of the session, we'll hear from British Council speakers and our teacher professional development partners from across the Asia Pacific region. And then we'll move into the questions phase, as I said before. So without further ado, let's get started. I'd first of all like to introduce my colleague, Liana Hyde. She's the Acting Director for English Programs in South Asia. And Liana will start us off. Over to you, Liana, thanks.
Hi, Alison. Thank you so much for that introduction. So as Alison says, my name is Liana Hyde. I'm speaking to you today from Mumbai in India. I'm the Regional Director for English Programs here in South Asia. I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about the work that we do in this region. So here the British Council works with 5 countries, that's Sri Lanka, Nepal, India, Bangladesh and Pakistan. And we have a long legacy of partnerships with national and state level governments in this region to design and deliver large-scale teacher development programs. These programs focus on improving the standards of English language teaching, learning and assessment. While we work in many areas of education systems in this region, most of our work and what we will centre on today is looking at how we work with teachers and teacher educators. Our programs recognise the importance of working with whole systems and ensuring that teachers not only get input through training, but also get support when they go back to their schools and implement their learnings in the classroom. Our work has evolved over the last few decades to use more technology to ensure wider access to continuing professional development for teachers. Our partners in the Ministries of Education in Pakistan and Sri Lanka will share more on how they are doing this. But in other countries in South Asia, there's been a big rise in the use of technology in continuing professional development for teachers. So a few examples of that from British Council's work with Ministries of Education. One is our program called Tejas in the Indian state of Maharashtra. And it's an interesting example of how we work with a state government to reach thousands of teachers using a teacher activity group or TAG concept. So this involves small groups of teachers coming together to learn and share experience. During COVID, this transitioned to online, using WhatsApp groups as a way to continue these teacher activity groups online and giving teachers vital support during school lockdowns. These teacher groups have continued beyond the pandemic, and teachers have evolved to use a blended approach, using social media to share, but also being able to meet face-to-face. In Bangladesh, we are working with the Ministry of Education to improve the skills of over 100,000 teachers in the government primary school system. In this project called Training Master Trainers of English, we adapted to use online modalities to reach teachers during COVID lockdowns, ensuring continuity of learning for the teachers engaged in the project. We also have a program to provide CPD resources, so continued professional development resources to wider communities of teachers globally, which is called English Connects. In the past year, it has reached over 1 million teachers in South Asia and is sure to continue to grow. In this program, we use a range of low and high-tech solutions from radio and audio content, which can be shared on basic mobile phones, to Zoom sessions on teacher development, which we also broadcast through social media channels. This has enabled us to build communities of teachers across the region who can share and support each other. There are many examples from South Asia of how we've been striving to use technology to drive the improvement in the quality of continuing professional development for teachers. And we've seen now, as Alison said, that governments and all actors in education systems are far more open to the use of digital solutions to improve teaching standards. Finally, I would like to say that while there are many advantages to using technology to support teachers, there are many things to be mindful of. There's still huge disparities in access to digital devices, levels of digital literacy, and the levels of connectivity amongst teachers and learners. There are still large urban and rural and gender digital divides, which are extremely apparent across this region. Any intervention to improve continuing professional development for teachers using online or digital modalities needs to be designed with these factors in mind. And support needs to be given to those with lower levels of access, connectivity, or digital literacy to make continuing professional development for teachers truly inclusive. Thank you very much for that brief introduction to our work in South Asia. I will pass back now to Alison. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Liana. And now I'd like to introduce Lankesh Kittur-Godaje from the Regional English Support Centre. He's a trainer from the Ministry of Education in Sri Lanka. And he's going to tell us about the work that he's been doing to support teachers' language and pedagogical skills using digital approaches. Over to you, Lankesh.
Thanks, Alison. Okay. Good day, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Lankesh Kitugada. I represent the Ministry of Education of Sri Lanka, and I would like to talk about our experience in the pandemic and how the use of technology for teacher development became the only way to provide professional development here. I'd like to explore the localization and contextualization of professional development resources and how the mix of low and high-tech approaches to teacher development ensured that interventions were tailored to the connectivity level and device availability to teachers. But first, a little background. Sri Lanka, formerly named as Ceylon, is an island country lying in the Indian Ocean, which is separated from the peninsula of India by the Pork Strait. According to the Department of Census and Statistics, the island had a computer literacy rate of 32% in 2020. So the people in our country have a satisfactory level of computer literacy. The Ministry of Education Sri Lanka and the British Council have been working for the past 4 years on the Improving Teacher Education in Sri Lanka project. It was a face-to-face teacher training project. As a result of the pandemic, this project got detoured down the online path. It was the first endeavor of the Ministry of Education Sri Lanka and the British Council in online English language teacher training in the state school sector in Sri Lanka. The British Council, in partnership with the Ministry of Education, was poised in March 2020 to start the delivery of English for Teaching 2, a course for B1 English language level secondary school government English teachers, which aimed at increasing their English language proficiency from B1 to B2 on the common European framework of reference and develop their classroom teaching practice. Reluctant to abandon English language teacher training because of the pandemic and subsequent lockdown, the online version of the English for Teaching 2 course was investigated for its potential for delivery in the country. 15 local Ministry of Education trainers were trained to be e-moderators on the pilot run of the course between June and December 2020. 5 e-moderators were selected for further training. In January 2021, delivery began with 8 cohorts of the 6 months, 120-hour course. 16 teachers were in each cohort with a mix of participants island-wide. This course finished at the end of June 2021. The participants were from all the 9 provinces in Sri Lanka. Due to the success of the course, the second delivery commenced on 1st November 2021 and finished on 6 May 2022. This is the actual course itself. It runs on the platform ThinkingCamp, and participants can track their progress over the course. On this platform, the teachers complete online activities and forums on all topics. They also attend weekly synchronized sessions on Zoom and complete 6 assignments offline. The course is 21 modules on various aspects of methodology and language improvement. Now, let's focus our attention on how this online course was localized and how we use a mix of high and low tech approaches to meet the online learning needs of the teachers. The first pilot project was conducted with experienced, highly skilled international e-moderators. And in the first rollout, local e-moderators were given the opportunity to conduct the course under the guidance of an experienced international mentor, also with the assistance of the guidance of global e-moderators. The local e-moderators intervene directly for the course continuation. The backup and the follow-up given by e-moderators help some participants to complete the course successfully. The contribution helped to minimize the number of dropouts from the course. The e-moderators had to complete many tasks in addition to conducting live sessions, follow up the progress, assure participation, ensure whether the participants have understood the synchronized session task, and promote collaborative learning. Also, the e-moderators had to check whether the methodology aspects of the course are followed practically by participants. Furthermore, observe the diverse knowledge levels and take remedial precautions to assist participants, so we can understand that the live aspect of the course is fulfilled by the e-moderators. And also they play the role of a live mentor to the participants and help them to have an experience which is close to face-to-face learning. The teachers were very enthusiastic testing out new methods of online learning, which was a new experience to most of them. Some participants were not very familiar with emails because the teacher community here only used this method for official purposes. As a remedy, moderators had to create WhatsApp groups to update them regarding the course. This method was very successful to communicate with the teachers, and they use it frequently in their day-to-day activities. The course was continued in a very flexible way to promote teachers in their learning process. The familiarization tasks were very challenging because the participants were of different IT knowledge levels regarding working online. The moderators had to guide them with most of the online features throughout the course, which was a unique feature to our course. The first rollout was very successful because the teachers were following the course from home due to the pandemic. But in the second, we had some dropouts because of the island's power supply crisis. Also, the teachers were working at school and they had other tasks to accomplish. As example, GCO level student support work and extracurricular activities at school. Some of the teachers were boarded in remote villages or had to travel a long distance home, and they found it difficult to join the synchronized sessions. Due to the unavailability of internet facilities and reception issues in their respective areas, they had to face many difficulties. Some teachers use smartphones and they had issues related to online learning. Also, due to the economic crisis in the country, there were frequent power cuts at various times, and teachers face many difficulties in their online studies. As a remedy, the course completion date had to be extended to help teachers to complete their online studies. Here you can see some of the activities that we do in synchronized sessions. And here we can see some of the feedback given by our participants. As a whole, the step taken towards introducing online teacher education was a very timely measure taken by the British Council to help the continuous professional development of Sri Lankan English language teachers at a critical time. We know with the ongoing crisis in the country that professional development needs to be addressed urgently. We can all contribute towards overcoming this situation by offering open, accessible digital materials to promote sustainable learning and minimize barriers on continuous professional development in teachers. Also, the Ministry of Education, with collaboration with the British Council, will be launching another Moodle course for English language teachers named Developing Listening and Speaking Skills and Assessing Listening and Speaking Skills, which will be delivered online. At present, after a successful completion of the pilot, it is on the process of nominating participants. Due to the current crisis in the country, the government is taking steps to promote online teacher education in Sri Lanka. Our recommendations for ministries of education in other countries: assign local education authorities to follow up the teachers' progress and supervision and observation, and have a review on the progress monthly or weekly. Keep in touch if teachers are attending online activities to ensure participation and application. Give teachers the opportunity to share their online learning experience in local quality circles, which will promote and create enthusiasm in other teachers to follow online teacher development courses. These methods will promote online learning among teachers and help to achieve the desired goals in continuous professional development. The teachers and the Ministry of Education are very thankful and grateful to the British Council for being a friend in need at a critical time. We are eagerly waiting for the commencement of the next rollout of the course, which will be commencing soon. Thank you very much. Over to you, Alison.
Thank you so much, Lankesh. Brilliant timing. That was such a great overview of the work that you've been doing to support teachers through this really difficult time. And obviously in Sri Lanka, you have a double crisis to be dealing with. So, congratulations to you for all the work you've been doing to do that. I was really impressed by the way that this particular program is not just a course, the way that you've built an enabling infrastructure around it through support for mentors and e-moderators, the work that you've done to introduce quality circles at local level, the work you've done to ensure that the CPD is synchronous and asynchronous to cater to different teachers' time schedules and timetables. I think that's really impressive and important for us to remember that effective CPD is not just about one-off training events, it's about a comprehensive, holistic solution. And I was really reminded of Sri Lanka by the fact that all of your cohorts had names of spices from Sri Lanka with cardamom and clove and cinnamon, and it made me sort of go straight back to Sri Lanka. And so thank you so much for that. So I'd now like to introduce our second speaker, who's Dr. Samia Naz, who's the course director from Kayed in Punjab, Pakistan. She's going to introduce the English as a Subject for Teachers and Educators project from the Punjab in Pakistan. Over to you, Dr. Naz.
Thank you very much. I'm Dr. Samia Naz. I'm from Punjab, Pakistan. This is the case study of school-based continuous professional development of primary school teachers of the Punjab. The number of the primary school teachers is 200,000. So we already had a school-based CPD module 1, in which we were working on improving the pedagogical skills of our primary school teachers. But in module 2, which is East, English as a Subject for Teachers and Educators, this project we are doing in collaboration with the British Council, Pakistan. So this is actually not the first project. We already did a project that was Punjab Education and English Language Initiative. It was a 3 years project. We started it in 2017 and we continued till 2020. So that was also a wonderful experience working with the British Council. In that project, we were working on improving pedagogical skills of primary school teachers. But this time, we are going to focus on improving English language skills of our primary school teachers. So now I would like to share why are we doing this project and how we moved from face-to-face to online professional development setup with the support of the British Council. So rationale of the East project is that different research that we have already done on Pakistan, particularly Punjab primary school teachers and teaching and learning situation in Pakistan. And that shows that our primary school teachers really need to improve their English language skills. Then if we look at the status of our English teachers who are teaching in the Punjab schools, we see that they are not really the English teachers. They are the teachers who are appointed on the basis of any subject or the competency they have, but they are teaching English in the primary schools. Then we have the result of the English of our primary school students that also needs improvement, particularly the language skills. Then if we look at the secondary school students, that they also need to improve their English language skills, particularly how to communicate in English as a medium of instruction, which is the model, which is the mode that we focus at the secondary level. So our secondary level students also need to have competency to communicate in English. So for this, we want our primary school students to prepare from the very beginning, that is the primary level. So the benefits of the EAST project is that we will improve English language skills of our primary school teachers. Either they are English teachers or whoever they are, but because they are teaching English in the primary schools, so all of the teachers will be over focused in this project. And definitely this will improve our primary school students' language skills also. So the scale of this, as I told earlier, that we will be focusing on 200,000 primary school teachers in the Punjab. We have developed an online setup in the Punjab in our module 1 of school-based CPD. And this is the second module. So we already have that experience. That's a wonderful experience. I'll share the success story also. So once the cost on development of the online platform setup is done, so our IT department is now proficient enough to run the learning management system for the second or third module. As far as inclusivity is concerned, over all the teachers, either they are women or men, and teachers with disabilities, either they are working in the urban areas or rural areas, they are more likely to attend this course, online professional development. They have already done that. So this is a very good positive thing that they already have that experience. And as far as gender is concerned, online professional development makes it easier for our female teachers, particularly even if they are in rural areas and or the urban areas. It makes it possible for all of them to attend the course, to complete the course, online course in their own time, outside family duties. And this also saves time and also the traveling cost and the problem of traveling from one place to another place. So that is not an issue for us now. This is the model that I want to show you, that our primary school teachers, first of all, they will be receiving online, they will be attending online course or completing the online course. That will be self-paced learning, self-access course on the learning management system. After that, we have two supports for the primary school teachers. One support is the assistant education officers. They are their mentors. They visit the classrooms. They observe the primary school teachers when they are teaching in the classroom. They guide them. They give them feedback on the spot. And then after that, there will be another platform on the same learning management system. And that platform, we call it community of practices, where the primary school teachers, the mentors, assistant education officers who are not only mentors, but they are also their observers, they will be there. And also our English experts will be there. because as far as assistant education officers are concerned, all of them are not English experts. So we have added one category also, that English experts will be there. And the three of them, the primary school teachers, the assistant education officers, the observers, and also the English experts, they will collaborate. They will have a forum where they will talk about any problem the primary school teachers face during the online course or while teaching in the classroom about, for example, as we are focusing on English language skills. So if they have any problem regarding language listening skills or speaking or grammar or pronunciation, so the problems, all the problems will be resolved and they will get technical or academic support there. So I would like to share a success story of our online professional development also. That since 2020, as I told, that we had the first module that was that focused on pedagogical skills. So our primary school teachers now, they are more digitally literate. They have gone through that course already, and they can better access digital course. So almost all parts of Punjab now we have connectivity. And if there is any connectivity issue, we have local training centers which are being equipped with computers and internet. So as it is a self-access course, so our female teachers or primary school teachers won't face any problem of traveling or anywhere. So online resources, the material, the content is accessible on smartphones as well as laptops. So over all the primary school teachers, they have their smartphones now. Though we faced that problem in the beginning of the first module, but now this is not a problem or challenge for us. So digital modules will be available on learning management system as we had earlier in the first module and for the East project also. So there will be a peer learning mechanism in a community of practices platform where the teachers will be sharing activities and they will be sharing their experiences with each other. So orientation sessions on Moodle and MS Teams, we do that, and we will do for the East project also. As I told that we are in the beginning of this East project at the initial phase, but we will do the orientation sessions also for the teachers if they have any problem, how to connect and all. Though I told you that this is not the first time, they are already literate in that. So this is all about the success story and the module East project that we have, we are working on. It's soon going to be launched in the Punjab, Pakistan. Fiona, if you want to add something about the project and the success story.
I think we're sort of close to time now, so perhaps I can come back to Fiona during the question, if that's okay.
Okay, thank you very much.
Great, thank you so much, Dr. Naz. That was great. That was, again, another really interesting case study. What I really liked about your overview was the importance of bringing in the education officers and building what I heard as sort of learning partnerships between the English specialists, the education officers who often have an administrative background, as you said, the teachers on the ground, the teacher trainers and the mentors, and making sure that everyone is pulling towards the same shared understanding of what's the outcomes that you're trying to achieve. So I thought that was really impressive. Again, you also talked about the importance of communities of practice, as Lankesh did. So I think that's an important element of both studies, and the fact that digital literacy was one of the building blocks of the programme, which I think is really important to highlight. So thank you so much for your summary, and I look forward to coming back to you for questions later. So moving on, I'd now like to introduce my colleague, Colm Downs. Colm's based in Indonesia, and he's the director of our English and Education and Work in Indonesia, but also supports our work widely across Southeast Asia. So Colm, I think you're going to say a little bit about our work in East Asia and then hand over to our final two speakers. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alison. Good afternoon, everybody. So I'm based in Jakarta, and I'm responsible for our English language programs in Indonesia. I want to say a few things about the sort of impact of the pandemic and the kind of silver lining or opportunities that innovation brought about by the pandemic has led in our sphere of work, both in education and in teacher training. When I came back to Indonesia, this is my second posting here, one of the reflections I had was that whilst we were very pleased with our face-to-face training in partnership with the Ministry of Education, we were only ever able to reach a very small proportion of teachers in Indonesia. Many countries in the Asia-Pacific region have very large populations. And I think one of the challenges that we have with high quality teacher training programs that are face-to-face was how to ensure that quality and reach to get as many teachers in the country as possible to have that experience. So coming back to Indonesia and this region, I was very keen for us to develop our digital approach. And as I said, one of the sort of silver linings of this devastating pandemic has been really that both learning and teacher training online has seen tremendous innovations over the last 18 months. And I've been very pleased to be part of that with colleagues and partners in the region. A couple of things that we're doing at the moment. One thing very, very importantly is that we're doing a lot of research into trying to understand how teachers are doing their professional development in different countries in East Asia. And we'll be producing a public report on online teacher professional development later this year, so that we can really understand what teachers are doing and what they need. Secondly, we have been, but in Vietnam and in Indonesia, in the last year, we have been awarding what we call digital innovation grants. And these grants have been used by local partners in Vietnam and Indonesia, along with UK English language teacher trainers, companies, edtech companies, universities, specialists in teacher training, to develop innovative approaches to online CPD. So new resources, sometimes these are MOOCs, sometimes they're modules, sometimes they're videos. And we've been testing these at quite large scale. And the idea is that these localized resources eventually will be used at large scale, national scale, ideally, again, so that, going back to my previous point, that we can produce high quality resources for all teachers, but obviously all teachers that have access to the internet, that have enough bandwidth, enough data. So that's still one of the challenges that we're looking at. So these resources are both high tech and low tech. At the end, maybe, of this discussion today, I will share some of my reflections on what I think works best and why. But I think I'll leave it there for now and hand back to Alison. We're going to hear now from two of our partners in Indonesia and Vietnam more about our work in those two countries. Thanks, Alison. Back to you.
Thanks, Gong. Great. So it's my pleasure to introduce our next speaker from Indonesia, which is Mr. Gumwahang Jati. He's the president of ITEL, which is the Indonesia Technology Enhanced Language Learning National Teachers Association from Indonesia. He's going to talk about developing low-tech approaches to online teacher professional development. I'm looking forward to your talk, Mr. Jati. Over to you.
Hi, Alison. Thank you very much for the time. Hi, everyone. Let me start my talk with sharing my screen. I'm going to share the story briefly, what we did actually. This association is pretty new. It just established in 6 years ago. And I respond to the large number of English teachers or language teachers in Indonesia that they're interested in using the technology. So we are a group of lecturers from across the country. If you know, Indonesia is a very large country, to support the government effort in putting digital into the classroom and also remote teaching. So we provide training and workshop, especially for language teachers and using technology both for remote and in class. Yeah. Before the pandemic in Indonesia, because it's a big country again, like I mentioned earlier, the school teachers use the technology only teachers that live in a 4G area or big cities, but not in remote areas. So there is a big gaps there. Yeah. Now, when the pandemic comes, COVID-19 comes, the government forced the teachers that we have to use technology for remote teaching, no face-to-face at all, just in abrupt, in a sudden, no preparation. It was chaotic for a while. Then we got the initiative to run a free workshop online with the teachers and with the help of the British Council. And we discussed this, I discussed it with Colm about this idea. So we call the program Tech Talk Over Coffee, Season 1. That was 12 free webinars. So we designed that. We are thinking about that. Oh, the teacher might need, for example, with the topic of exploring and integrating some technology, simple technology tools for the materials, storytelling using a digital tools, handling meaningful feedback, the role of parents and a remote teaching area, and so on and so on. So it's a 12, we came up with the 12 topics for this webinar, attended by around 2,000 max, and minimum is more than 500 teachers, surprisingly. Yeah. So we did that in collaboration with the British Council. Yeah. Because of the responding teachers, they really like the program because it's free. They got the certificate. So they demand another series. So I put a crowdsourcing on our social media, what they really want. Then we come up with 6 topics. That's what the teachers want. So the first one, we thought that they need certain things, then actually they want more, and then they come up with a program topics. So mostly coping with the low bandwidth facilities. So we run how to cope with or use WhatsApp, for example, to facilitate learning activities, because that's low bandwidth. How to use Bitmoji, creating engaging learning tasks with low text, and so on. So we come up with 6. And Tech Talk Over Coffee Session 1 and also Season 2, they all documented in YouTube channel, in the British Council Indonesia YouTube channel. So teachers can refer to that, very practical and handy, so that they can use that directly in front of the, or to bring it into the action. Now, in Tech Talk 1 and 2, then we form a Telegram group. So the Telegram group started with 100, 200, and then now reaching almost 2,000 teachers, that we share a lot of ideas, we share a lot of lesson plan, where we ask questions, and so on. So naturally, the community of practice grows there after the pandemic. Yeah. So that was the 2 program that ITEL and British Council done just right after the COVID. Yeah. After that, we took a break for some time. Then we came up with a Saturday Tech Talk. That's a 10 series webinar that we designed together with co-designed with an independent language consultant, expert in digital teaching. That's Jodel. So it's Jodel and ITEL discuss and start designing training. What's unique about this is that the UK, there are 2 or 1 UK teachers in partner with 1 Indonesian presenter. talking about the same topic. So we look at the same topic from UK point of view and from local point of view. That's again, it's a very practical tips, starting with designing exciting and engaging language learning using published material, maintaining classroom interaction, how the UK teachers do that and how our teachers do the same thing. So it's a kind of exchanging expertise, and the response was very good from the participants. Again, we still have that documented in the YouTube. And then we talk about the apps that we are introduced during the session, still up to now, up to this moment, in the Telegram group that we have. Also, we share a lot of event, usually that's related to how to use technology for language learning in our Telegram group. Yeah. So that's the study Saturday Tech Talk. Then we move on to Tiki program. Tiki program, like Colm mentioned earlier, there's a digital innovation grant with the UK. So ITEL wrote a proposal with ELT consultant from the UK. That's a company, digital technology for teaching company, specializing in TPD. We are designing of MOOC together. So developing a module for Indonesia. And we are aware that Indonesia is very big. So we are trying to use a low bandwidth platform. Yeah, we're piloting 9 modules that's involving 300 English teachers at this moment. And the duration is very long. We pilot that for 9 months. Now is the 3rd month, actually. We still have 6 more months to go. So the main platform that we use is Telegram. So conferencing, chatting, discussion, sharing material, all are based on Telegram. So we are piloting on that, and we'll report. Hopefully, we'll have a good result on that. We will going to analyze that when we finish the pilot. Yeah. Following up that, we have a 2-year conference. So that conference is always every 2 years. So we have a face-to-face conference that's mostly for teachers, for language teachers, to share ideas and best practices. So we're going to have that very soon, July in Jogja. There's going to be around 100 teachers that participating actively in the session 1, session 2, Saturday Tech Talk. I think there are around 15 teachers will share their practices in this conference. Yeah. So in short, if we're going to have a teacher professional development program, should be bite-sized, small. They can use it directly in front of the class. They bring it home and use it. Yeah. So if that's a theory with a simple practice, bite size. That's number 1. Number 2, it's a low bandwidth, because in our context, if that's high bandwidth using Zoom, for instance, not everyone can join. It's better if you have a Telegram video chat, for instance, yeah, or other technology for conferencing and low bandwidth. Flexible schedule. So we can put that in a Telegram, we can answer question and so on in the Telegram after the conference. So should be a flexible, not just having the event and then put it in YouTube without any follow-up. The follow-up, what we learned a lot is the discussion after the talking, the discussion after the event, the discussion after they try it in the class, what's work, what doesn't work, and share the excitement and also sharing problem to be solved. Thank you very much, Alison, and back to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jetty. That was great. What I really liked there was the fact you're combining the the professional and the personal. So it's sort of teaching talk over coffee, which is really nice. So it makes it sound less intimidating and hopefully more motivating for teachers to join and to discuss things together. They may not feel so pressured. And again, the importance of continuing professional development. So the bite-sized chunks, which can be catalytic and really help immediate challenges, which in an emergency situation like we were all in when COVID first hit, was really, really critical. Teachers really valued that support, knowing exactly what to do in the moment. And then through that, seeing how things work, that's where beliefs and values change and where teachers start to assimilate new practices and ideas. So the follow-up part that you talked about is absolutely critical, completely agree. So thank you very much for that. Also great to hear that a teachers association is getting so involved in this, because it really is so important for teachers associations as well. So our final speakers today are from Vietnam and the UK. We have Dr. Thuy from Vietnam, who's the Deputy Head of External Affairs from Hanoi University of Science and Technology. And we have Professor Marina Orsini-Jones, who's the Associate Head of School of Global Engagement and the co-course Director of the Masters of English Language Teaching and Applied Linguistics from Coventry University. And they're here to tell us about their partnership project that was one of the Digital Innovation Learning Grants that Colm introduced earlier. So please, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And thank you to the other speakers. It was really inspiring to see so many interesting case studies we can learn from. We won't introduce ourselves because you have done so. And perhaps without much further ado, I'll move to the next slide. Over to you, Thuy.
Yes, so hello everybody, and I'm very happy to share with you our collaborative project. And for the context of project, I think Colm already laid out the similar context with Indonesia. And in Vietnam, we really appreciate the effort of the British Council working with the National Foreign Languages Project of the Ministry of Education and Training to provide a very innovative project that can help us to foster inclusive and accessible approaches to promote English teaching and learning And in particular, we not only can support teachers, but they can work with our UK scholars and experts to encourage more collaborative partnership in not only in language education, but also in other education initiatives. So this is the context why we got our project. Marina.
And what we like to propose is virtual exchange, which is collaborating at a distance internationally. And there is a description here what it is, as a new approach to CPD for English language teaching and English or language teaching in general. And the idea of creating communities of practice which are not just local, but they're global, and they can knowledge share on a bigger scale. In terms of needs identified, we started with the British Council, the Minister of Education in Vietnam, the foreign language policy, and some literature. And we were addressing the pandemic issue, main issue being teaching, speaking online, and competencies for teaching, speaking online, encourage English language speakers who are mainly female to become more confident in handling the online environment, foster the demise of the native speakerism. So, L2 speakers can teach, so they shouldn't be shy about that, like most of us here, and develop student-centered ELT pedagogy underpinned by intercultural and international knowledge sharing. So virtual exchange has this added value of the international dimension. Over to you, Thuy.
So in particular, we set out the needs analysis survey to generate teachers' responses on the things that they would like to learn to improve their teacher professional development. So we focus on e-classroom interactional competencies, teaching, speaking online, and also communicative grammar teaching approach. In particular, we also offer tips and tricks to support online interaction in our project. Next slide, please. All right, so we're talking about low tech and more advanced tech, and you can see that we provide more simple to more sophisticated platforms for teachers to use. And throughout our projects, the teacher can utilize these many platforms for their different teaching purposes. So you can see here throughout only 2 phases in 2021, we could provide training to up to nearly 300 participants. And not only that, they are across all educational sectors from primary, secondary, and tertiary. In addition to that, we also provide a number of symposium and innovation webinar for the wider audience. So here's you can see from the geographical location in Vietnam, teachers from big cities, but also from mountainous and rural areas in Vietnam. And there are 36 institutions all over Vietnam to participate in this project. And we also have a participant from the UK that Marina will introduce you.
Yes, the extra dimension of equality and diversity is given by the fact we also had an NGO involved, and the NGO was the Coventry Refugee and Migrant Centre. As it happens, one of the managers there was also doing the masters at Coventry, which created a perfect agreement on this. And we worked together with not just the Coventry Refugee Centre, and all the teachers participated in Vive Excelled, but also my master's students who are going to become teachers. Some of them are experienced teachers, but as you can see, they come from a lot of countries from the Global South. So we had this Global North, Global South meeting, which was very fertile and interesting in terms of learning how English is taught in different contexts. And in terms of outcomes, we're very proud to say that we had a nice outcome, which was a collaborative task of creating a teaching, speaking online lesson plan. And I've put in the chat the website, because these lesson plans created by the participants can be downloaded and repurposed, and they're inspired by the Sustainable Development Goals. 3 or 4 of the Sustainable Development Goals have been addressed. So you'll feel free to download and see if you can be repurposed. In terms of other outcomes, we have some videos on a bit like what Joe Dale and our colleagues just explained little bite-sized 4-minute videos on how to use Genially, for example, how to integrate Padlet with Genially in your classroom, how to use this and that. Very similar to the previous project, but on a smaller scale, I would say. And what we also have developed, actually, I'll pass it over to Tui.
So actually, our project received remarkable results. And this is one of the results that we asked participants whether our project provided them with opportunities to increase their digital competencies. And you can see that nearly 100% of the teachers agree with this statement. And you can see the teachers also so confident to showcase their lesson plans in our webinars. So it also shows how competent they are with different digital skills. And we're talking more about lesson learned. And Marina, you would like to talk about the positive points of the lesson learned.
Yes, I mean, we found that it was very easy to set up. And I heard the mention of Zoom bring bandwidth problematic sometimes, but we didn't experience that much. I must admit, Zoom seems to work for most of our participants. Majority of them didn't have any issues. And it's sustainable and cost effective because you're putting people in touch through online training. It enables international intercultural knowledge sharing in ELT. And the idea of decolonizing the curriculum on a large scale is very appealing to me, in keeping with EDI principles. And it can be scaled up, because what happened with us, we had people who had done course number 1, June, July, became trainers in course number 2. And we were training them to become mediators in the breakout rooms, because that was identified as the most interesting aspect, that breakout rooms had not been used much in Vietnam, not as much as we thought they would have been, because we were using them extensively in the UK. And there were problems with that, the black boxes, people not participating. So we started to exploring this collectively, and we had focus groups, and we created this guide I'm going to mention in a second. But over to Tui for issues.
Yes, so and you can see that is a collaborative and global project, and we have to find the time that can work for teachers in the UK and Vietnam. So we decided to do in the evening, so that both the participants from both countries can join our training, and it works quite well. But we also encourage you to think about the time difference especially when you do international training. And I think Dr. Samir also talked about the internet connectivity that sometimes, yes, especially teachers in rural and mountainous areas, we have to wait for them. Sometimes we have to brief them again because of the weak internet connectivity. And also I can I can point out that in Vietnam, sometimes this was the first time that Vietnamese teachers can interact with many foreign teachers and UK teachers in the UK. So that can be some kind of anxiety in terms of technology, or feeling not so confident to be present on their to show their video online when training. But we appreciate their feeling, and we would like to create a very comfortable environment so that later they can feel more confident and comfortable to interact with their UK counterparts.
And yes, and what we did, I mean, this breakout room guide, if you go to the website, we've created it, and it's already been disseminated to a European consortium led by Robert O'Down, the Valiant project, and also John Fowler in the UK, Collaborative Online International Learning Lead, COIL, which is the same as Virtual Exchange, but with different terminology. And they've adopted this, and we're very proud of this, because this was really created by the participants, with the participants. So it was action research with, and very, very exciting for us to see it adopted by others. And so just in terms of final recommendations, we find that it is virtual exchange as an approach to CPD is innovative, stimulating, cost-effective, can be easily scaled up. And in fact, the numbers for us went from 50 participants in course 1 to 200 and over in course 2. So you can see the way it was scaled up, and could be delivered in blended mode with face-to-face elements post-pandemic, because we have a model of having the virtual exchange plus the mobility. So it doesn't have to be just online. We can have the mobility element if needed. And in terms of what we should do, over to Tui.
Yes, so you can see that we are utilizing many global platforms. How about the global local platforms that we can use? In Vietnam, I think Vietnamese people are they think that the Zalo is very common. And actually, I use Zalo to share a lot of information regarding our project and training to so many different groups, so many different schools. So we encourage to also focus on the local platform to maximize the training effectiveness. In addition to that, when we design training, we also should address SDGs. Because this one will help our training model to be replicated and also impactful to different contexts. And it's like we talk about decolonized third stage for teachers, and the model of virtual exchange to provide the teacher professional development is utilized in many contexts. But we also would like to encourage Vietnamese policymakers and educators to adopt this model, so in order to maximize the training to provide the impactful teacher professional development for all. So Marina, you can talk about the picture as a last slide.
I think we finished because we're over time. So thank you very much, everybody, and thank you for listening. And if you're interested, we've put some references if you were to be interested. But this is one of the symposium, but that's what the group looked like, only part of us. As you can see, quite a mix. Thank you very much. Okay.
Thank you very much, Professor Marina and Dr. Thuy. That was really interesting. And again, a community of practice virtual exchange concept, but this time through a global and local exchange. So I thought that was really interesting, the way that you focused on how that generated intercultural competence and understanding as well, which is close to my heart, considering that's part of the British Council's mission to build understanding between different countries, and brilliant to see that professional exchange happening across borders. Really interesting that you had such a expansive range of platforms that teachers were encouraged to use, and the fact that you really helped support build that enabling environment again through the guidance of the breakout room guidance and the video tutorials I think you mentioned as well. So might come back to you on those in a moment as well, because they sound really interesting. So thank you so much to all of our speakers for your initial case studies. Some really interesting learning there that we heard from across those different contexts. So now's the time, audience, to start thinking about your questions and putting them in the chat. There are a couple of questions there already, but I'll be coming back to the chat in a moment. But before I do, I have a few questions of my own I'd like to pose to the speakers. Where did I put them? Here we are. So I wanted to just start with Lankesh, if I could go back to you. It was fascinating to hear about the e-moderators that you were working with on the program. Could you say more about their role and how they actually supported the program?
Yes, the local e-moderators had a very special task in their work because everything was new to the participants, and the participants found it very difficult to adapt to the new online environment. So the local moderators, because local moderators had some professional training, they knew the challenges that they would face while the course was being conducted. So the local moderators had to step into each and every problem that they faced. The participants face, because some of the participants in our country, most of them, they use the mobile phones, right? And some of them have laptops and tablets, maybe a few. So they had to cater to the needs of all the participants. And also, as an example, I can give you, we had one of the moderators yesterday told me that there was one participant. He had no signal in his surrounding. So he had only one place where there was signals. So he had to go to the Kovil, the religious place in his village, and he had to entirely do his studies there. And finally, because of the mentoring of the e-moderator, this participant was very successful and finally complete the course successfully. So what I see is the e-moderator has a very live role in when we localize the course, and because the e-moderators understand the difficulties that the teachers have, because most of them are trainers in the Department of Education. So I think the role of e-moderator is a key in this professional development in teachers regarding online teaching and learning.
Yeah, thanks, Lankesh. And so those e-moderators will remain available within the system for the future? So is it also?
Yes, they will be continuing, and they will be training, maybe in the future, they'll be training new or e-moderators locally. Right. So there are plans to, already they have train some more e-moderators by the British Council, and maybe in the future when it comes to the hands of the ministry, the experienced local e-moderators will be training the newcomers, so it will be something of our own.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So you get that ownership, but also that sustainability built in.
Yes, sustainability, yeah, and it will be a continuing process.
Yeah. Great, thanks very much, Lankesh. And Dr. Samia Naz, you talked about your program in Punjab in Pakistan. The scale was mind-boggling, 200,000 teachers, I think you said. Could you tell us a little bit about how you dealt with the challenges of that scale? So were there any specific strategies you used to do that?
Yeah, thank you. You are right, the challenges are bigger. There actually, we have not only our training center, the main center in Lahore, but we have each center at district level also. So we have a complete, setup at district level where our district heads, we label them like that. So they provide support to the teachers if there is a problem. As I told you that in our previous school-based CPD, we also offered online course to the primary school teachers. So there was a problem in the beginning when we received third-party validation report. It showed that 20% area in the Punjab is there where there is no internet connectivity. So this is why we moved to another step, that we set up, we provided the internet facility at our district level. So if the teachers who had internet connectivity issue in the beginning, because it was not only actually internet connectivity issue, it was a problem that our primary school teachers who were seniors, who were, you can say, senior in age, they did not have mobiles, Android mobiles, so they or smartphones. They had the other phone, which it was difficult for them to how to do that. They use their family mobiles and all. So, but yes, they also learned. They also cooperated with us. So when we provided them internet facility at district level in the beginning, it also became a complaint for us that we have to travel and all. But as it was a self-access course, so the teachers realized that it was for them, it was meant for them, it was for their professional development. So they moved to the training centers in their own free time. But but the number was low. It was not the large number as 200,000 teachers.
Yes.
So, but now in most of the areas, the problem is resolved because the teachers also started, figuring out the problem, how to resolve the problem, which internet facility will be more suitable for them, which mobile they need to buy. So in the beginning, yes, it was a problem for us, but now it's not. But yes, we also faced another problem in teacher forum meeting. That was a face-to-face. So this is why we are moving towards another online forum where our teachers, they don't move, the trainers, they don't move on monthly basis. So now on the online platform, the primary school teachers and our trainers, you can say, or the facilitators, the mentors, they will be available. So I think this will be much easier as compared to our previous model.
Great. So actually the digital is helping you overcome the issue of scale, isn't it, by the sounds of it?
Yeah, of course.
Great, yeah. So there's a study that indicates that women are 8% less likely to own a mobile phone than men. And you just mentioned there that some of your teachers were using family mobiles, and I think sometimes older teachers might have mobile phones that maybe don't have as many functions as perhaps more modern phones or younger teachers. So is there anything you want to add about sort of how you overcame some of the inclusivity barriers or the gender access barriers? You touched on it earlier, but would you like to elaborate on that?
Yeah, actually in Pakistan, particularly in Punjab, though there are different stories that we listen to, but as our teachers are used to the training, because since 2007, we have a continuous professional development for our primary school teachers. Mm-hmm. So that was also meant for all the teachers, either they are male or female. Yes, in the beginning, there was a problem that when our mentors who were male, assistant education officers, when they would go to the classrooms where the female teacher was teaching, so that was a problem for the female teachers, not for the mentors, of course. Right. So, but later, with the passage of time, they also learned that it was it was a support for them. So they were free to observe parda or, to wear hijab if they like. And they were informed before that. So then our mentors also started using some SOPs. So then later it was not a problem for them. Right. So so we did not ignore the female schools. We did not ignore the female students. We tried to find the way out, how we can follow the norms which are being followed in the rural areas by the female teachers and by different sects, in the Punjab.
Great,
so
thanks.
I think,
yeah, that's great, thank you. And I think my colleague Fiona Robertson is with us as well today. Fiona, is there anything you'd like to add?
I think Kasami has covered it very effectively, actually. So I don't really think there's anything that I need to add there.
Great. Thanks, Fiona.
Thanks, Samir. I think you've painted a very realistic picture of our work.
Great. Thank you very much. And so coming on to Jetty, Mr. Jetty, so you used a sort of an approach which was really ensuring that the platforms were quite low tech and not sort of intimidating for teachers. So could you just say a bit more about how you selected the platforms or anything you want to add about the technology that you chose?
Okay, to answer that question, I need to explain a little bit about ITEL actually. ITEL is an association, a group of lecturers from across the country. So we provide training mostly free for the teachers. So if an association or a group of teachers want to have a training, then we request the type of training. So the request coming from big cities, coming from a very rural area that's hardly had a signal, mobile phone. So we are catering what they need, actually. So if your question is how we adjust that, we just cater what they need. They need low technology, we go low technology or no technology at all. So we talk about more on the pedagogy. Because we are association, so a little bit fluid, informal, yeah, so everything is negotiable and we don't have really structured type of training.
Right, and you said that you sort of iterated as you went along, so you started off with topics and then you evolved over time as you understood what teachers really needed most.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, so we learned from the field that usually we want to bring the pedagogy beyond the technology, but of course the teachers, what they remember is about the tools, not what's the pedagogy. It will take time. That's what I learned. So when I come back to the same place and then they got it after 3 months, 4 months or 5 months after the training, they came back and said, oh yeah, now I understand this is a flip learning using this. But after the training, usually what they remember is how to use the technology, because that's a new experience and so on. And
so on. It's an important stage
so,
that they need to go through, I guess. Oh, sorry, please carry on.
Yeah, and then what we do here is to make the audience not so frightened or scared about technology and about sharing. That's why we have a lot of session. In the second session, I forgot to mention that we invite teachers to discuss with us, with the panelists, to have questions and answer about the technology. So to give room for them to express themselves in the conference as well. That's what we are planning in Jogja. It's going to be a lot of teachers. Even it's going to be the first time on the stage. They got nervous. They sent me the PPT beforehand and so on and so on.
Great.
So
thanks very much. Yeah, it sounds interesting, and I hope we can put the link to the conference if it's ready in the chats. But it sounds. So moving on to our final speaker. So Dr. Thuy, you talked about how exciting it was to be part of an innovative approach or introducing an innovation into the system. How do you sustain that? How do you keep it going?
Actually, thank you, Alison, for your question. I think Marina talking about the breakout Zoom guys, and we would like first to start very small and practical, because that is one of the products come out of our project. We would like to, if possible, foster a series of training on how to use break Zoom guys as one of the technical skills that teachers need to obtain when they foster more online learning. Because I know even the situation in Vietnam in terms of COVID-19 is better, but we still promote at least a blended mode of teaching and learning. So I think that is very useful for not only Vietnamese teachers, but also teachers out there who do, for example, Zoom to teach, and then they know they have a more competent in teaching online with these skills. And we would like to, I talk about the case studies that teachers showcase their studies. They utilize our approaches to apply in their communities. and they came back with our seminar to showcase. And we would like to later promote themselves as agents of change. We would like to document and work with them more in different communities and showcase more later, so that our project can be multiplied in terms of the effect later. Thank you. Yes.
Great, thanks very much. And Professor Marina, could you say a bit more about the intercultural competence aspect of the project? That sounded quite unusual.
It was fascinating, and also what we always find when we deal with intercultural is, for example, interactive can mean different things in different countries, in different contexts. So we did explore, what does teaching grammar interactively mean? What does it mean in Vietnam? What does it mean in the UK? What can we learn from each other? And in terms of learning as well, I must say, it wasn't just we UK knew a lot about technology, because I found myself in a breakout room where Genially was very well known to the Vietnamese partners, and they taught me because I wasn't so good on Genially. So it was really proper intercultural knowledge exchange. And what I thought was very interesting, when we did the SDGs, I would have gone for quality education, for example, but they ran with the water issue, which is big in Vietnam.
Right. Yeah.
And that was where we realized, you know, where the interests are and how you can contextualize, but at the same how we can learn about different realities while also teaching ELT in a meaningful, authentic way, which relates to authentic issues. And when they created this lesson plan for water management and river management, canal management in Vietnam, the kids were very enthused about it, and they created amazing artifacts because they used it for different levels. So it was used for primary, secondary, tertiary, and the result was mind-blowing. What was presented to us in the symposia afterwards was really mind-blowing. So yes, I mean, the intercultural dimension was really exciting, and also, you know, similarities but differences. That's what comes out of it, and what we can learn from each other, which I think we adds to it. Yes, thanks.
Thanks very much. Yeah, that's great to hear, and it reminds me to give a little plug for our climate action in language education materials and resources that we have that are freely available for teachers. So maybe Cole can put those in the chat as well. There's a question for Lankesh. Lankesh, I'm going to come to you in a moment, but then we've only got 5 minutes. So I think if you could just keep this answer very brief, and then I'll ask all of the speakers if you've got one sort of sentence of advice you'd like our audience to take away today. So I'll come around to you all before we finish. So the question is, when you're running the sessions with the teachers, did you have any issues related to trainee teachers' interactions? Were they shy to speak up? If yes, how did you tackle it?
Most often, most of the teachers are naive in online platforms because they did not know the technology. So the e-moderators were the ones who had to change the attitude. And finally, at the end of the course, it was a very smoothly ongoing platform for the trainees.
Right, great. That's good to hear. And if you had one tip, one takeaway for our audience today, what would it be? One recommendation.
As e-moderators, be very polite and friendly towards your participants.
Great. Yeah, that's important, isn't it? Keeping that human touch all the way through. Thank you. And Dr. Naz, what's your final recommendation for the audience, your final takeaway?
I would say that for a large scale audience, target audience, it's really difficult to plan. As we were talking about localization, it's always difficult for us to, when we prepare our material, as we have been working with the British Council, and we are going to, actually we have started, though we are at a planning stage. So we focus on the content very much, that it should be localized. There should not be even a single picture, which can be a problem for the participants, trainees. So we focus really on words, yes, phrases, words, even names of the, names, if there are some case studies, so names should be also, we should use local names. So,
so that cultural Sorry to interrupt. Yeah, so that cultural contextualization is important. Thank you. I need to move on to the next speaker so we finish on time. Mr. One recommendation from you?
I think just if you're going to run a TPD, teachers professional development, you should listen to the teachers. So listen to the teachers, what they need, and then create the agenda, not the other way around.
Right.
I think that's very important. Cater what they need. I know it's not easy, but we have to listen first before we start our agenda. Thank you.
Really good advice. Start from where the teachers are. Yeah, great, thank you. And finally, Dr. Thuy, your final advice?
Actually, I don't have any advice, but I would like to reflect on the number of the trainees that Dr. Samir and Dr. Jati and your colleges are doing in different countries. And I have to be honest that I am so impressed with the number that you could offer, you know, the number of teachers that you could train. And actually, I would like to say, if in Vietnam, I would encourage educators and, you know, policymakers and authorities to believe more on online training, like see the successful models from our colleges here, and to be more, you know, to promote more so that we can foster more effective ELT learning and teaching for all, especially for rural and remote areas. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much. And Professor Marina, what's your top tip?
I like to reinforce what Colm was saying, that we don't throw away baby in bathwater. Let's not forget the lessons learned from the pandemic, because, you know, we learned a lot. We can do a lot with it. Let's not just go back to face and think it's the best, because it might not be inclusive enough. It might not be wide-reaching enough. So let's not throw away online now because we're back in class.
Great, thanks so much. That's a really great point to end on. The importance of using this disruption that we've experienced over the last kind of couple of years for positive goals moving forwards, and really seeing how we can sustain what we know has worked from the experiences that we've all had. So thank you so much to all of our speakers today. It's been a really fruitful and rich discussion, lots of sharing, lots of great comments in the chat, thanking you all for your contributions and for the information you've shared. This recording will be available soon for you to watch back or share with your friends or colleagues if you found it helpful. And please do keep in touch with all of us, follow the links, and we really wish you all the very best with the online teacher development that you may be working on in your own contexts. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. Thank you.